I'm hopeful and believe that our team is committed to continuing to improve and get better, stay focused, starve the distractions, if you will, and lock in on what we got to do to get 1-0 this week. Got a very talented and experienced UCF team coming in. I believe on both sides of the ball they have, give or take, around 17, 18 seniors as starters. So it'll be a group that has played a lot of football and led by Plumlee, their quarterback, that just a year ago rushed for just under 1,000 yards and passed for around 2,500 yards. Very, very explosive offense. One of the most explosive offenses in all of college football, top 5 offense when it comes to total offense, and a defense that's long and athletic and aggressive. National championship coach and Gus Malzahn. He's had a tremendous experience, and as an offensive coordinator, he's had lots of decades of success at coaching and developing, and so they've had their quarterback has been out the last several games and tried to come back a couple of weeks ago. And as we know, you lose your starting quarterback. It's hard to maintain the same type of cohesion and things of that nature. So I know that having him back will give them a real charge, and again, going to be a great challenge for our team. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Brent, I'm sure the message about maintaining focus is the same when you start 6-0 as it was with some of the early Oklahoma teams that you were part of. But how much do things differentiate when you have social media and with you being a head coach?
I don't know that distractions have always been there for young people. So the challenge has been there really since the beginning of time. You're on a college campus, so those are there. To me, every year is different. Depends on your focus and your maturity of your football team, and whether or not they can stay locked in and stay committed to doing the boring, methodical things that it takes to be successful. And my challenge to them is, our structure and our routine has got to be our compass, and it's got to be a sanctuary for them and how you get ready. They've got to buy into that, not get bored with that, and show up every day with the mindset of developing good habits. Habits don't establish themselves, in the most critical times and the most strenuous situations on a football field. You have to fall back on your habits and your fundamentals. And so I believe our guys that they understand that, they believe that, they buy into that, and we've spent a lot of time at trying to nurture that and promote that as well.
You had some personalities on those 2000, 2001, 2002 defenses. What do you think they would have been like with social media?
I don't know. I don't know. I just, my if I had a philosophy, I think less is more, and we team, that is a very, normal habitat for them, and I don't want to major in the minors. I think our guys understand what a focused, committed teammate looks like, and our guys have been good. You're always, don't hold your breath. You're dealing with, again, 18 to 24-year-old young people, and that sometimes they don't have the filter that maybe they need, but adults do the same thing, as well. So our guys are, I think this is a really driven, close football team that they recognize the success that we've had has been because of, the disappointment and the struggle we went through a year ago. And this is a very invested group of young men, and the freshmen and the transfers that we brought in, plugged in from day one. And our older guys have done a great job of leading the football team, and making sure that our guys, are focused on, the right things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, Gus Malzahn has a reputation for trying some different things, wrinkles, trick plays, things like that. How do you plan to prepare for things like that might get thrown in maybe a little bit differently from other teams? And did you have to deal with anything like that in 2017? Do you remember when you went against him?
Yeah. He's always, that I think a good coach's deception is part of the game, and that's really in any sport. And it was maybe Sun Tzu talked about, in the art of war, talking about, again, deception, as something that is utilized on the battlefield. For football or sport, I think it's always a good thing, both sides of the ball. I think that's a good part of strategy. And, so, yeah, Gus is, and then UCF, our next couple of weeks, both teams, I think they're top 2 or 3 in the country in deceptive plays as far as a percentage of their total number of plays. So, if they run the screen, they're going to run the screen and go. If they run the sprint, they got the sprint throwback. If they run the stretch, they're going to run the flea flicker. They double pass. They throw back to the quarterback. We had the fumble Rooski. You get the jet. You're going to get the jet pass. All of those things to slow your aggression down and to manipulate you. And we try to work on that every single week as part of our normal, even if they don't do it, challenge our guys that this is going to be part of their game plan. Doesn't mean you're always successful defending those things through the first part of the year. We've had our moments like Cincinnati where we didn't play the screen and go well, and then we've had games like SMU where we defended a lot of trick plays, from fumble Rooski to reverse pass to flea flicker, all those things. So, everybody's going to double move you if you're going to play aggressive in coverage. If you're going to run their big, pop pass team, they'll run the pop pass and go. If they run slant, they're going to run slant and go. And just all those kinds of things. If you're going to be aggressive, and that's part of our process too, to try to get our guys to play with discipline within the schemes.
Brent, yesterday after practice, Jacob Lacey walked us through some of the medical issues he dealt with since he arrived on campus with blood clots and stuff. What was that like from your perspective to see him dealing with all that? And then how have you seen him once he got cleared? I mean, obviously he missed a lot of practice, a lot of time with the guys, just how he's come back into the fold for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's scary, really scary, and just thankful that under the circumstances that it was diagnosed and he went through the right protocols to get him healthy. And fortunately for him and for us from a football standpoint, it was the best case scenario when it comes to blood clots. And I think the minimum amount of time, he was one of those percentages that fit into that category. And then between his own mindset and his family's, what he wanted to do, he was very aggressive and wanting to come back sooner rather than later. And then our medical team, they worked together and put together a game plan, and that was all based on him meeting his certain margins along the way and things of that nature. But to his credit, he stayed active in all the right ways on his own and did what he could between push-ups and things like that. I don't probably know the half of it, but he stayed fresh, and so he was at every walkthrough or practice and things of that nature to be around his teammates. And so I think all those things helped him from a transition standpoint, getting back into the flow of things where it didn't take him as long as it potentially could have.
See him have that sack late in the Texas game. Is that just one of those moments that when you all know that backstory, does it hit a little different?
Be honest, it hit different because it was in the Cotton Bowl in a 2-minute situation. And they ended up kicking a field goal on that drive, so that was a big play within there. But Jacob, one of the things that makes him a really good player is he plays with great fundamentals, And that's it's not the scheme that helps these guys make plays. It's it's the ability to execute at a high level with precision and timeliness and the fundamentals that you ideally want. The planner scheme's only as good as the players that are executing it. So, but they're good for him. A really big moment for him, and certainly if you go back and reflect on it now, who would have thought? Because I'll be honest, when he got the first initial diagnosis, you hear the doctors and you hear, okay, here's kind of the plan, but you really, for our staff, our mindset was, all right, we got to move on without him and plan on him not being able to make it back, plan on him, there'll be a potential setback. We certainly didn't relay that to him, but those were, that's just, part of our responsibility. So, alluding to that, anybody got any more questions?
Brent, when you first got here at Oklahoma, quarterback was an interesting position for you guys because you had someone on campus who you probably liked in Caleb. And I'm wondering, what were those conversations like with him? And then when did Dylan come on your radar, and what were your first impressions of him?
Yeah, I'm not going to really go back and talk about guys that aren't here anymore, but we needed, our quarterback roster was not what Oklahoma is used to. I think that goes without saying for lots of different reasons. I think we had a couple of guys within, several months of December that had already decided to move on or had moved on to some other schools, and we did not have a roster that was strong at quarterback as a result from a depth standpoint and development standpoint. Just didn't have the numbers. So I can't remember exactly when, but even before that announcement, we knew we needed to get additional quarterbacks. That was the mindset, was we need probably 2 additional. If everything stays the same, we need a couple. And so we end up getting 1 right away. And that was a very pressurized moment, if you will, for Dylan and for Russ. And then he had to have a lot of trust and faith and belief, and knowing that he had never met me. I FaceTime with him, and hey, brother, here's the situation. I visit with him and his family, and I know you're supposed to be going to college tomorrow, or maybe it was 2 days away, and but here's our situation. And obviously Jeff's relationship, lend credibility, to, some of their conversations and the things that we were laying out there for him. So, next thing you know, he had a few questions, and we answered them as well as we could under the circumstance. Some of it you just didn't know, but I told him I couldn't make any promises about who was going to be here, who wasn't. I was going to try to keep the roster as is. So he'd have to come knowing, that I wasn't going to be misleading and things of that nature. I want him to come here and feel good about his opportunity. And he bet on himself when it's all said and done. He bet on himself and bet on his relationship with Coach Levy, and it worked out really well for all of us.
Did you watch any tape on him?
Oh, yeah.
Been familiar with his game? What stood out when you watched it?
Just a baller, And, of course, I knew of Dylan Gabriel having been in the Southeast, and there was another quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, that had transferred to Florida State. And so I kind of knew those dynamics of what was going on. Florida State was a big rival. So, and then fan of Josh and Jeff both and their situation there. And so I've always been paying attention, and this Gabriel guy's pretty dang good, And so, and then, of course, we watched his video too, let's just get familiarized, with here's the guys that maybe we're looking at.
Let's go to Ryan, and let's keep ourselves to one question so we can get through everybody.
Brent, you've prepared for a couple of really electric rushing attacks so far this season. UCF's in the top 5. What makes their challenge of bottling them up unique as opposed to maybe like a Cincinnati that was a top 10 team rushing coming?
Yeah, just different styles, different, a little more option principles. But the similarities are the run with the RPOs, and then, but Coach Malzahn has a depth of experience systematically, and then he's got the right players. He's got explosive playmakers at tailback and at quarterback and, at receiver to help all of it work. Got a veteran offensive line that can move people and open up gaps, and so they know how to put you in conflict and put pressure on you, and you've got to play with great precision and physicality both, and you got to close space quickly because their playmakers can run away from you in a hurry.
James?
Brent, your offensive guard situation, you said that you may lose McKay for a week or two. So what's your guard situation like in your offensive line situation?
Yeah, it's the same as what it was before. And, Caden came in, and we got Schaefer, we got Bird, we got Troy Everett. Those are kind of our guys, and you'll see all of them.
Savion's ready to go.
Yeah.
Eli?
You called it a pressurized situation when Dylan committed here and what he stepped into. He and Jeff began their relationship together in 2019. I'm sure it was pressurized.
Yeah, and I was referring to he's got to make this life-changing decision. He was planning on going to L.A. He's going to get on a plane within several hours. And so when I say pressure, that's a lot on a young person and their family. What do we do? Do we take a leap of faith? What? I don't even know what that would be like, where you got to make that decision. There's not like, well, let me think about it. There ain't no thinking about it. You got to make a decision now. And a life-changing decision, that's a completely different path. Doesn't mean he couldn't have success there. But that's what I referred to.
2019, I talked to him last night, a lot of pressure being a starting quarterback 3 games into your college career. What struck you about the relationship between Dylan and Jeff that you've gotten to observe over the last 20-some months?
It was just easy, natural, respect. It's like a dad and a son, Jeff has great admiration and respect and love for Dylan, and Dylan does, with Coach Levy. So that's what you saw, belief and trust, and just a very natural, relationship, more like a son and, his father, as opposed to a coach and a player.
Bob?
Yeah, Brent, when Justin Harrington went out and a lot of us were wondering who was going to take his spot, what was it about Kendall Dolby that stood out back then, and how has he played since?
Yeah, Kendall, when we remember that one of our, I think it was Xavier Brewer, or maybe Ryan Carter, maybe both, they found him and like, hey, we got a guy. And, man, I remember watching his video. He's just a baller, He plays big. He's fearless. He's got great instincts, really good. He can fly. He's got great transitional movement. And we knew he could play inside at Cheetah and at safety. And but we were a little more uncertain outside at corner. And we felt we had our guys inside. And but he's just a very instinctive player. Plays fast. Again, plays aggressive. He's a football junkie. If he doesn't know what he's doing, he can figure it out. He knows where the ball's going. But he's got a tremendous upside from where he is today. And so we've really like where he's at and the things that he brings to the table that bodes well at that position.
Jesse?
Hey, Brent, wanted to ask you about Ethan Downs. Just seems like he's developed into a consistent guy for you guys. He leads the team in sacks. Just what has stood out to you about the way he's played this year? Maybe where have you seen him grow the most from last season to now?
I thought maybe last year it was paralysis by analysis, just overthinking things and just not turning it loose. Maybe playing with undisciplined eyes and pad level that goes along with that. And so just not trusting. Things weren't second nature yet. And so it's exactly opposite of that now. And he's still has tremendous upside. To me, he's still not anywhere close to what he can be, and that's really a reflection of really where I feel like our whole team is as good as things have been up to this point in time, with several scars and warts along the way. We're not anywhere close to being the team that I believe that we can be, and Ethan is one of those guys, but he's playing pretty good. And, had an excellent outing. And it's a lot of little things. It's not necessarily team related to the opponent. It was really some of just football, understanding football, run, play action, our scheme within, what we want to do. And, but he's coming on and is playing a little more free, as opposed to having a burden of just overthinking things that sometimes young players play with.
Gary?
Brent, your last play down in Dallas was their Hail Mary that you guys handled just fine. There were a couple of those situations over this past week where it didn't turn out so well for the defense, and it got me thinking about maybe a coach reps that more than he might think because of situations like that, or maybe it's such an unusual play you're relying on guys to just relying on faith as much as anything, guys to make a play in an unusual scramble situation, defending a Hail Mary. Where do you fall on that?
Yeah, no, you have to work it, and it's like everything. If you look at their personnel groups and they major in 11 and 12 personnel, and then they play some 22 and they play some 23. You spend the majority of your week on the 11 and the 12, and that 1 or 2% of the time of all the reps during the week on their other areas, and that's an area that we watch weekly, and you work it. There is a strategy to it. You got guys in that back end that are supposed to be doing certain things. Sometimes they do a good job of it, sometimes not. And but you got boxers and scrapers and things like that. There is an actual strategy to it, and there's a strategy to the rush. There's a strategy to all of it. But we actually put those things in front of our players to watch other people and try to learn from other people as well off of videotape, and then put the guys in that position, accordingly and you spend, some part of your spring, part of your summer, and then again during the course of the week when you feel like, hey, this is going to be one of those games, rehearse it a little more. Mm-hmm.
Let's go back left, John Hoover.
Yeah, Brent, curveball here for you. Whenever we talk to recruits, guys that have been offered or guys that have committed, we hear a lot of Miguel Chavis's name, whether it's offensive line, defensive line, inside, outside edge, whatever. Can you kind of describe how he's settled into that role? He's still young, he's still new at the recruiting game, but is it a case where some people are just really kind of born for that, more natural at it than others?
I think
come easy for him.
Yeah, I think it does. He's a very relational person. He's got a big personality, but he's got a lot to him just as a human being. He's got a unique background. Certainly as a former collegiate player and played, professionally as well. But, he's got a great testimony. People are attracted to that. But he's the best in people, and he's passionate. So people are connected to a lot of the endearing qualities that he has. He's a humble guy, but he's outgoing. He loves his job. It's evident, and people, again, are attracted to people that have a lot of passion that just flows into every part of their life. So whether he's a husband or a father, he loves his players. He's genuine, and so those are all great, traits to have in the recruiting business. And as we try to attract the best of the best players around college football, parents care about the people that they're going to be around. And Miguel's got a lot to him, and it's a great representative of our staff. I think it's a staff that there's nobody that's just the same, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of the same endearing qualities. But Miguel's done a great job He loves what he does, and it's hard. It's challenging, but he loves what he does, and so he knows how to figure things out.
The right side, second row, Mason.
Brent, Caleb Schaefer's a captain for you this week. How much has his experience in Miami, Ohio helped that group, and what did you think of the way he stepped in?
Well, I want to brag on all several of our guys that transferred in that came from different cultures, that we know college football has become more and more transactional, how the rules are set up, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether you agree or you don't agree. And so there's, for us as we really work hard at trying to protect a culture in our locker room and the things that we're trying to establish and build, finding the right people was critical. And we've had several guys that have come in as transfers and immediately have made an impact, maybe start from not day one, but have earned starting positions quickly. And then we've had a handful that have been, valuable backups as well as amazing teammates and leaders, and just plugged right in. And despite whatever role they have, they might have given up a starting position somewhere, but they've come here, they have a role, they value it, they show up every day, and they bring value, they bring out the best in people, they show genuine gratitude and thankfulness and an appreciation for their opportunity and their teammates. And it makes a world of difference, and that's really how we've built this football team, and Caleb is a fantastic example of that. His perspective is always spot on, and he has amazing perspective. He's thankful for everything, and it starts with probably when he leaves his apartment in the morning. He's got a thankfulness to him, and that transcends to every other part of his life, and certainly as a teammate. So whenever he's gotten the opportunity to get in the game, he's got in the game. He's done very well. And he's earned more of an opportunity and plays on the games. He plays really well. Coach Bedenboda, if he was up here, true serum, he says, something he does, he kind of, pisses me off at practice, but he gets in them games and he can play. And I think it goes back to his experience, and he was well coached at Miami of Ohio. Those teams in that conference, man, they know what they're doing. And so he came in here with a lot of a good foundation from a playing standpoint, and has done really well. Really proud of Caleb.
That's everything in the queue. Any more questions, follow-ups for Brent?
So the Joe Moore Award midseason honor roll came out today, and UCF is one of the 23 offensive lines that was mentioned. What is it specifically about their group that presents a challenge for your defense?
Yeah, what are they ranked here? A number 3 rushing offense in college football. So that's the number one thing, and I know you know the answer to that question already, but they've been fantastic. They've protected the quarterback. They're running their system very well. Whether it's double teams or the zone game, the gap schemes, it's the wildcat. They're just protecting the quarterback. They're doing a great job. They've got great cohesion. Their experience shows with the consistency that they're playing at. And if I gave them a compliment, that probably the best one, and that's what coaches want to see, is the consistency. They're not turning guys loose. They know how to target you. They know how to handle the different looks and things of that nature. So they're playing in a very cohesive way.
Back right, Clay.
Yeah, Brent. What do you think beating Texas has done for the players in terms of the way they look at themselves? I wonder if, this was practice 2 weeks ago, this is practice after we beat Texas. Do you detect, is there a difference? Is there
I don't personally detect anything. What you hope and your coaching experience would say, this is for everything that we went through and the previous first 12 months. Success requires disappointment and struggle, and we certainly have had a lot of that those first 12 months for the group of guys that were here for those first 12 months. And so for me, it probably validated their hard work, affirmed their hard work, affirmed and reinforced how we do what we do. And it's not just that game, but I do think that we knew going in that, all right, this is the best opponent that we've played up to this point in time, and this is where you kind of see where you're at. And you don't need to change our routine. You don't need to do more. You need to continue to do what we've asked you to do. And this is what it takes. This is what it looks like. And so, that lends credibility to systematically how we do what we do. Maybe individually, if they came up, maybe they would say they've got more wind in their sail, this back half. I don't know. I don't ask them that. Hey, do you feel any extra better? I'm just kind of, not that you're asking me that way, but, my hope is that it lends credibility to the hard work that we ask of them every week and what the game requires, what it takes to be able to be successful. And I think some of the last reminders that you tell them, look, fellas, we got to play well. You don't have to play perfect. And as Texas will probably say the same thing. We left a lot to be desired, but situationally in some different moments, man, we were fantastic. So, there's probably some young guys that maybe still have seeds of doubt. That's a very normal thing in a locker room, and so maybe they come out of there with a little more confidence in themselves and in one another. And you got to go through stuff. You got to find your identity through it all, and through all the strain of game day. And certainly that game had all those moments, both bad and good. But it takes all of it, to have a sense of urgency when it's time to work on punt protection. I told you the fundamentals, you're going to get exposed if we don't fix X, Y, Z. And those pressurized moments, you get exposed. That's what game day does. We try to create an environment that's like that at practice. And we do a lot of good on good and get guys exposed. They need that to have humility and to learn the value of developing great habits and the right mindset and the right fundamentals. And, game day, hopefully going through the fire reveals, the quality of your work. And there's been a lot of work that's gone into getting to this season for Team, 129. And even reflecting back, it's not just, that game, but it's really, you look at each game and we've won different ways. And what I love about most of them is you can come out all the games you won, but you got a handful of things that, all right, here's what we can get better at. And the guys have bought into that. It's when I say it, I'm always pretty guarded. Looking for guys that are rolling their eyes or don't believe, what we're putting in front of them. And I feel like there's tremendous buy-in. There's belief and trust in and I believe good teams and really good players, that's what they want. They want the truth, and they want to get better, and they have humility, and they know they're not where they want to be. And as they choose to chase excellence every day, knowing that they may not get there, but, it's the chase, it's the hunt, it's the work, it's the commitment, it's the climb, all those different things that you can use to describe that. But that's a real thing when you're chasing your dreams and you're chasing, your passions. So...
Yeah, Javonte Barnes, what's his status right now? Is he going to be healthy enough to contribute, be in the mix back after the season?
Possibly. Yeah, we're hopeful. So we'll keep trying to bring him along like the other guys.
Last two, Jamie and then George.
Brent, the four new members of the Big 12, UCF being one, they've only got one collective win against legacy members in the Big 12. You now will have played half of the four after this weekend. I know you're not looking at beyond UCF, but is there any, we saw TCU come into the league a few years back and maybe have some struggles to start and then elevate. Is that just to be maybe expected from?
I don't know. That's, I'm not in a great position to really talk about everybody else's transition. Again, if you look at UCF, they haven't had their quarterback the last several weeks. That's going to be tough on any team. So I'm really not, because I just don't know enough about their transitions, their rosters, all of those things, new conference. I know this for me personally. When I left the Big 12 conference, I was here as a player and coach in the Big 8, and then here for the very first game of the Big 12 in 1996, K-State versus Texas Tech, all the way to when I left and I went to Clemson. My first year, it took transition for me to learn the opponents, learn the coordinators, learn their go-tos, learn their rosters, learn their strengths. And I tried to rely on people, but it's never, you have to go through it and kind of figure that out. And that was probably the last piece of not being real comfortable in that first year, because you got so many other fires to put out. Like when, even for us here a year ago, we had this new roster. You don't know what you don't know. And again, you kind of, sometimes you think you might know, and then you got to go through it and you start figuring stuff out. Well, that ain't no good. We're not putting him in a good position. He can't do that, or, whatever. There's so many issues that we went through, and as coach and scheme and things like that, there's going to be naturally some kind of a transition that none of it would probably be easy. My experience would be, but all talented teams with great histories and tradition and really good coaching and good players across the board.
The corner depth, the injuries have been an issue. How are you feeling about that group heading into this game?
I feel we're pretty healthy there now, and so feel much better.
Do you anticipate Walker and Vickers and Wagner being available?
Yeah.
All three?
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. All right.